Hello, this is a quick video demonstrating Revit functionality in NBS Chorus with SpeedSpec content. This is the project I have already set up here, and as you can see, my architecture specification has already been associated with the open model. So I'm just using the three dots there at the side when you have the Revit model open. When I enter into the architecture spec, you can see some of this has been associated already. So if I scroll down with the content, you'll be able to see that same icon appears next to some of the content. It says associated with the open model, much like the sanitary ware, for example, is also associated with the open model. The next step to do is to start numbering. For example, doors or walls, you probably want an independent way of identifying those types, and then perhaps the material properties or whatever else you want to show in terms of the parameters of those objects. What I can do with the interior wall, for example, is with the drywall partitions. So for this internal wall, for example, it currently doesn't have any of the parameters down the bottom with the NBS Chorus parameters here. What I need to do again, so when I've just selected that object, is to use the three dots and say associate with model. I have the option of associating with the overall object or the component parts, in this case the basic wall. And then the option to associate the drywall partition section overall, the entire part of that spec, or clauses. That's going to be quite easy to then start identifying the different types we discussed. So I'll select materials and components and associate now. Again, the small pop-up down here and the icon appears to the side. What that allows me to do is, whilst in this overall section of work, with the materials and components clause, I can just click in there to highlight the clause and then add, for example, prefix and suffix, which might be, let's say, a plasterboard finish, and the suffix could be internal wall 01. I can easily then make a second type and then also start to fill in all the details about the materials or the sizes by inserting a new item below. Prefix, I'll probably do the same. For example, I'd enter the same title as the one before, and I'll just show that I have here, for example, internal wall 02. And that will create the other clause just below that here. And that's where I'd start to again click into that and start to fill in all the details I want there. So once I come back to my model here, this is the one that I associated with the previous 1.4 clause. As you can see, that's now populated the NBS section code and materials and components. What I want to do now is ensure that information from the 1.4 clause, where I renamed plasterboard and internal wall 01, is going through to that object. And what I can do is use the model checker. It's a really handy unassociated list tabulated there, and then associated items, those are the ones in the model I've already done. Of course, you wouldn't necessarily need to do all of them. And then there's issues that are built up, either issues or errors. In this case, 2 warnings. So as you can see, for the plasterboard internal wall 01, I've got a little pop-up saying the parameters don't match, which is really handy, a little safety net to say what has perhaps changed in the spec and not yet in the model. I can use the 2 arrows there to identify the walls, and it highlights the ones that are not matching. And this is the icon I want to say update this object with the clause's parameters. So as soon as I click that, the details that I changed in the spec in Chorus has gone into that wall type now. So I'll check on the parameters. You can see I've now got plasterboard and internal wall 01 as well as the original. And then it's just a case of tagging, which we can go through in a bit more detail separately. But currently I have this tag, which is the same as what I'd done with the previous sections of the spec. And then it's a case of manipulating the tags you have. So this one for the SpeedSpec multi-category, I just want this one that I made, which is the prefix and suffix version. And then I've got the information showing there, which allows me to do the different types. That all comes through on schedules. So whenever you were to go up into view and then make a schedule, for example, you can pick out any of that detail in the same way, so much as you would be perhaps showing the type marks or the descriptions of any of your objects. Any of this information you can pull through, and it also gives you the same option to click any of the NBS Chorus items, and that will be shown as well in schedules. So we can demonstrate that a little bit further, have a little bit more time to discuss how this works for you.